like to call the meeting to order. Notice is hereby given of a workshop of the Board of Directors of the District to be held at 105 Port Road, Port Isabel, Texas, on the 6th day of December, 2017, at the hour of 3 p.m. for consideration of the business of the agenda below. This notice is posted at the office of the District on November 30th, 2017, at 3 p.m. in accordance with the Texas Open Meetings Act. We do have a quorum, minus the chairman, Scott Friedman. I'd like to do the invocation and Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. You want to give the invocation, Carlos?
Yes, we got somebody do it. Go ahead, do it. Heavenly Father, we just want to thank you and for allowing us to meet here today, Lord. We just ask you to give us guidance, Lord, and give us a clear head and clear mind, Lord, that what we discuss today, the agreements that we come to, that they may be in the best interest of the district and the point of Lord. Again, we just ask you to be with us and guide us. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Amen. Item number 3, consider and discuss district's job descriptions. Who's taking that over? Carlos?
Yeah, yes, I think we're here. As you all posted job descriptions of management and administration. We provided all the information in here. As you will see, the first copy is the general managers. And then as we go along, you can see the changes and like that we made on the blue lines. And the second page of it would be the corrected one already. So, which one do you all want to start with? General managers?
May I interject here? Thank you for putting this all together and kind of give us some information. I've gone through these and looked at them, and Mr. Chairman, I think that this is going to take more than we have time to work here. We've got some important business with trying to figure out what we're going to do with our capital improvements and repairs. Not putting this aside, I would make a recommendation that 2 board members work with the general manager and O staff to weed through this and let staff go ahead and do a kind of a red line recommendation or strikeouts to work with. I don't mind discussing it now, but from what I'm seeing here, we got a lot to discuss.
Yeah, I'm okay with that. I guess one of the questions I have is, do we need to form a committee to do that? Or obviously, we don't have any action items for today, but can we just automatically just put a group of people together to work on this?
Automatically, not really a committee, because
and that's fine with me.
Like often.
I would recommend that Alex work with it and somebody else.
Yeah, I don't mind doing it, especially since I'm the one that requested this information. I do have some questions, and they can get pretty involved. So part of what I'm trying to accomplish here is I'm trying to make sure that we have processes in place by which the left hand knows what the right hand is doing. That's really my concern. Understanding, and we should start with the upper management, because they're the ones who carry the biggest load of responsibility. So if we can, I'd like to do that, and we don't have to take any action item to do a committee and all that. That's fine. I'm willing to participate and go over with the GM and whoever else you think should be involved.
Mostly HR would be involved with us.
And go over and make sure that we have some processes. Because right now what I'm noticing is that, for instance, there's just as a point of reference, I feel like we're operating 2 financial systems right now within the district: the finance department and Charles in the engineering, which I totally get. You know, you have certain responsibilities that are outlined in your description that warrants that. My concern is that Mr. Gomez doesn't know what's going on, and we need a process in place by which you guys are communicating before you come with anything to the board. And that way we have something. You guys have already vetted the people, you've looked at the numbers, and so when you bring stuff to us, we know, number one, that there's a funding source. Projects, we have plenty of projects, but that's really my concern, that we have a process in place, and that's what I'm trying to accomplish.
Okay, I guess when we meet,
And I'm
whenever
open.
you decide.
I'm open to whatever is good for you guys. I'm pretty flexible. Since I work by myself, nobody can fire me, so.
Are you available Friday afternoon?
This Friday? Yeah.
Morning.
Friday afternoons is better for me, because I cut off at 3 o'clock, so after 3 o'clock, I have time, if that's
So let's
possible.
start this Friday and
Okay.
get together and
Okay.
meet with HR and
And it wouldn't be a-
possibly one more, maybe Robert.
Yeah, I think that would be good.
And it
yeah.
wouldn't be a problem if I sat in, because we're not a quorum.
No,
Yes,
just
yes.
this is okay.
Why don't you and Alex become the committee?
I'm in favor of that.
Well, we don't need a committee.
Me too, I'm so busy that.
Yeah, we don't need a committee. But,
Unless we need
Alex, and they're trying to
like all the
get
time,
second board
come up
member.
with new changes, then we need a committee, but right now, it's just. we don't need a committee.
Consider and discuss.
yeah, well,
That's
all we're
we
gonna
can
do is put in our concerns, ideas, changes, or whatever, and then it's gonna come to the board anyway, for approval, so, we don't have to do a
And
committee.
you guys have a copy of, all the job descriptions, at least you have a good
Yeah.
starting point?
Yeah.
So you all can decide you want to.
Yeah, and I'm glad, thank you for moving forward and making some changes, beforehand, so, I'd like the new format a lot better.
She's been working on it.
And maybe when we do get it all put together, maybe we can highlight it in yellow, so that the board members can see easily what the changes are.
Well,
Yeah.
you do the typical thing, you underline or strike.
Or strike, however, yeah. Just
I
so it's,
understand that you don't want a committee, an ongoing committee, but in essence, it would be an ad hoc committee.
we can make it an ad hoc committee, then the board can determine when we,
I think
when
at
we
this
can.
point, we can't take that action under this
Yeah,
agenda
so
item.
that's what I'm
We
saying.
can do it on a voluntary basis, and then if the board wants to take that directive action and take official action, that's true. You
Mr.
agree?
Gomez, if you think we should form an ad hoc committee, then let's put it on the agenda to take that action next week.
Next meeting.
Yeah, but an ad hoc committee, I mean, that's ad hoc, but you know that, this is not something that's gonna have to be done very often,
No,
not even annually.
Right.
yeah.
Alex, see if you can wrap it up at 2 o'clock. I'd like to do it an hour earlier. See what your Friday can work out for 2 o'clock instead of 3.
For my schedule?
Yeah.
Friday?
Yeah,
Friday.
yeah,
And then I can
yeah.
get some time there.
I'm flexible.
Okay.
2 p.m. Friday, okay, thank you.
Okay, just hear that. Okay, item number 4, consider and discuss prioritization of capital projects.
Who's got the crystal ball?
All right,
Got a
well,
little tougher a few weeks ago.
yes, exactly. And so really, the starting point here is I used the same prioritization list that we got to develop our election order, and I added the water meter system for a complete system upgrade, which I put in there as rank number 4. And then for the other projects, I cut them down to get to our preliminary issuance based on just the first analysis our financial advisor did. Like they basically, based on our last year's audit, we might have a capacity of revenue notes around 11.9 million. And so, sort of my first proposition to meet that point with revenue notes is to cut the energy efficiency at any buoy sewer plant and cut the headworks at Isla Blanca. And for lift stations, only proceed with 70%.
So why cut the energy efficiency? I mean, that's the one that really showed an actual return
Yeah.
on investment in savings.
Yeah, it's just the first run, so I mean, these can all be shifted around, so I just kind of threw a starting point out there.
Okay, so this is just your strike through, and
Right.
what it is, your starting point from what the work that was done before.
Mhm.
But what I'm looking for here today is to look at what, would be cost savings for the district, and what would be really necessary to keep the district compliant
Yeah.
with these different projects.
we gotta have those first.
Those things that are gonna be really important or critical,
Yep.
we gotta take care of our compliance first. And then, if we get into the other projects, then we can give that other consideration, discussion. I need to know what is required for us to stay compliant.
Right, and the first one, which is a new item, is the methane monitors at our monofill. I basically took a look at our available funding between our various bond projects, And what I thought we had in sewer infrastructure to cover that cost, we don't have it today. We'd have to rely on future revenue. And so I recommended that one just at the first of the list, is getting our methane
Where'd the
monitors.
$100,000 come from? Is that estimates or guess?
No, that's the latest estimate from Corollo. It's actually a little bit higher. I just got it after the board packet went out, but right now we're at $124,000
Have you
for
talked
our
to
estimate.
companies that actually put these monitors out and things like that?
No, it's just based on the engineer's estimate at this point and the
I
plans
don't
that
like our
that's put
engineers, I
together.
don't trust what our engineers tell us. I'd like to know really what this is gonna cost. This is a methane monitor system, and before, when we would question, we say, is this gonna be radio signal monitoring, or is this gonna be Wi-Fi monitoring? What is it gonna be? We had no answers from the conversations we had with Corolla before. And so, we have $100,000, $124,000 estimate, but if we're in the crunch time now.
Yeah,
In my mind, let me finish. In my mind right now, I need for somebody to tell me that they've talked to somebody and this is gonna be a $58,000 project or $100,000, or what it's gonna be.
Well, we've already worked with CSA, the current contractor, to get an estimate, and that's basically based on their feedback. First of all, we felt their quote they gave us was way too high, and then that's what basically leads to the need to put this out for bid and not try to present it as a change order. And really, based on the actual quote we got from CSA is higher than the estimate, which we felt was ridiculous. And so that's kind of where we're sitting right now.
When
with
we
it.
find a new source for it, there's gotta be a lot of people available to go ahead and, give us some quotes on this.
Yeah, we'd have to do it like that. Right now we're sitting on the final set of plans. Whether we need, it tied into our SCADA room that's going to be built there at the main building, or we have some other method, taking out some solar-powered attachments, or I don't know. I don't know how to dive into the details of the instrumentation to cut the scope of work down.
Well, wouldn't you have to know from whoever's gonna take and actually do the project, have an idea of what their system would do? Going back to our automatic metering system we're looking at, and each of them had radio signals, they had other signals and all that kind of stuff. So each vendor may have a system out there that would require a different setup, like you're saying, even a receiving area. Looks to me like we need to do some homework to find out what the options are there.
Well, right now we have a final set of plans, and really that homework's in putting it out for bid, and then we'll find out what's coming back. And then, at this point, we've been putting it out for bid without necessarily having it funded.
That's what we're talking about.
Yeah.
So does it hurt somebody, you or the purchase agent, pick up the phone, start calling around?
No, we can, guess we can,
Am I off base there?
Well, these things are mandatory though, right?
yeah.
Well, we're gonna have
I
to,
feel,
Right.
can we just go over?
we can dig up
and
100 grand
prioritize
or something.
the necessities, like.
Or less.
Prioritize the
Yeah,
necessities, then we can discuss the.
They're mandatory, we need to do it.
Prioritize the necessities first.
Well,
Like, what's needed, and then say, okay, this is
We-
more important than the other ones, and then we can look at the cost.
and as Rick just pointed out, we don't have any wiggle room in this, we have to put it in to be compliant.
Yeah, so we just gotta find the best deal.
Yeah.
We'll come up with the money, but we're gonna have to find the best
These,
deal.
We can already release this out for bid today, and just when we receive the bids, we'll just find out what we're doing with it.
Yeah, get 3 or 4 bids rather than 1 or 2.
Can we
Get
get,
some bids.
is it possible to get multiple bids?
Yeah, of course.
Yeah.
Yeah, we'll advertise, and
Yeah,
anybody
advertise
interested
and-
and willing to bid.
And about, of these projects that are listed here, all these are CCQ compliance issues?
No, a lot of them's
Number
just
one.
maintenance.
Let's stay with number one first, and that would be the methane monitoring system. Is it agreed that we want to go ahead and jump on this and get it? We've been working on it a long time, or for a while, so is it agreed that we want to go ahead and let them,
I can just let it now, the plans are final.
But when you say let it now, you know me, I want it let out nationwide.
Right,
I want to let out to everybody. I want the effort made to find somebody,
right.
and not the standard in the paper or on an offer board somewhere. I want a real concerted effort to put the effort to get it out, so we can get some proper proposals on this. This is me.
And I'm fine with that. We talked about this earlier. My main concern is, I need to know where we're getting some money. And I would rather come up with new revenue as opposed to trying to work with what we have.
I think that's what we get down to the end of this conversation today, is the workshop.
And I'm just saying that now because, to me, that's a priority. We can look at all these projects and assume whatever, but until we actually know how much money we have to work with, then we don't know how many of these priority projects we can afford to do all at once.
Yeah, and just for an example, just to have $100,000 to back it up, the sewer infrastructure, we're doing a monthly deposit of about $26,000. So in 4 months, we basically, 5 months at the worst, I mean, we've deposited money that covers this construction.
Need it for something else.
Right.
Well, it's not assigned anything.
Yeah,
Basically,
see, and that's if it's not assigned, then in my mind, I'm thinking we need to put it into the capital improvement fund, not the general fund.
well, yeah, well, it's already happening anyway with our monthly, when we do our reconciliation.
Okay.
Basically, the next 5 months of revenue into sewer infrastructure would just go entirely to fund the methane monitoring.
I just wanted to let you know that right now, most of all the bids are going into BidNet, and BidNet is pretty much in a lot of the states. So it is being covered when we put it in BidNet.
And out of state?
Yes, sir.
And they disperse
And out of state, not just in state?
No, it's going out of state.
Out of state. Thank you. It's helpful.
Yeah, and then actually we opened that sewer crossing in front of La Quinta. We opened the bids at 2 o'clock today, and we received 6 bids, and they were very competitive.
One thing to take in consideration, maybe we don't need to rush into this first item. Rather than just bid one item, there may be a couple of items in here that also have to be bid more or less the same time. And as an add-on, it might be a better deal overall rather than 2 separate bids.
Yeah, I mean,
Refer to your expertise.
Is it something that you could send to, could you gang them up, like Herb is saying, and send them to one vendor that can do those 2 or those 3 or whatever?
well, the 2 projects that, like, basically 1 and 3, of course, the methane monitors for the Port Isabel monofill, and then the sludge holding tank in Port Isabel sewer plant. Those are the 2 closest projects, but at the end of the day, it's 2 different specialties. So, I mean, you would really have 2 different contractors working on it.
Okay. So these are all individual contractors?
Yeah.
Do all these projects?
There wouldn't be one contractor that does both. I mean, they would have subs.
Okay. Do they exist? Are there companies that do that?
No, well, these are both specialty kind of jobs. One's the storage tank, and the other one's the instrumentation type person.
But you've identified 7 items here. Are you suggesting then there's only going to be 7 contractors?
Not necessarily. I mean,
Well, all right, what I'm
yeah.
saying is, if there's a possibility that 1 or 2 of these jobs are attractive to a single type of contractor, we might get a better price.
Right.
That's all I'm suggesting.
Yeah, like the lift stations, for example. I mean, those are several lift stations, and the same thing. And then treatment plant work. I mean, that can be bunched together. That's all similar work.
As long as when the bid is put out, and I recall bids going out in the past, and that was when we were buying a tractor for the monofill, we were doing some other stuff, and it wasn't really explicit in the bid itself to where somebody said, well, I don't have tractors, I can't bid in here. So, it's gotta be, it could be a combined bid, but it's also gotta be defined that each of these items can be bid on individually within, if it's a combined bid.
Yeah, and I mean, it really, in this case, for the specialty type of work, I mean, it makes sense to build the methane monitors as standalone, separate from everything.
What's our timeline available, what's our race time, if you will, to be out of favor of TCQ with our monitors?
Oh, there's
They're
no...
telling us right now.
There's no telling. I mean, basically, we activated our monofill this past February, and those methane monitors are still not in place, and they should be. So we need to take care of it.
But we've had letters from them now. I've seen correspondence recently.
But they haven't even brought up the methane monitors in the letters. The letters was in the groundwater monitoring that we still have to resolve. Basically, PSI is working on the comments, and they requested a 45-day extension to provide a response, which we're in that extension right now.
And what did those last requests talk about, or what was the...
Well, the biggest issue is at monitoring well 1, which is where we used to, like right there next to our drying beds in Port Isabel at the monofill, the nitrates came out real high, so it's out of compliance. But I mean, that's also where we dump sludge from the 80s and 90s forever. So it's a matter of resolving, that's like the biggest issue in terms of resolving those
cleanup
comments.
issue, or...?
Well, no, we probably have to add an additional monitoring well, like in that property that we're going to acquire from Garcia's. And like that, then we'll have a good starting point to maintain, to establish our groundwater conditions.
Alex, we were very fortunate to be able to take and reactivate that old Monteville or Hills area that was there. Very few of those permits are, am I correct, or actually allowed anywhere, and we were trucking sludge to heck and gone at highest use expense until we were able to go ahead and reactivate the current old Monteville. And so some of the strings attached to that to be compliant includes our gas monitoring, our methane gas and things like that. So we're very fortunate to have it.
Yeah, and so if, there's, like, as far as the work that's coming that hasn't been presented yet, I'm sure there's going to be an additional monitoring well we're going to have to install, and then PSI needs to give the comments to resolve everything with TCEQ.
Well, let's get back to the prioritization.
Second item would be?
The second item is the new sludge drying basins at Water Plant 2 and rehabbing that backwash waste pump station, which...
Why is 2 more important than 4?
Oh, because our meters still work. I mean, a water meter system. I mean, I would say the reason why we need sludge basins at Water Plant 2 is, essentially it's full. We're supposed to be metering that return flow through a decant pump that's full of sludge, and no water goes through the metering. It just goes through the overflow pipe. And, we've made several attempts for over 10 years to try to clean it. And I mean, really, when that was built back in the 80s, it was never meant to be clean. You just build another cell next to it.
Why is 2 more important than 6?
Well, I mean, 2, I think, would have a water quality impact for our treatment. And 6 is really kind of on the wastewater side. It'd be more of a kind of to prevent, violations of pink flow, but
Basically, all I'm trying to do is I want to understand your prioritization process.
Yeah, I mean, without having a cut and dry criteria or some kind of numbering system.
Well, no,
it's just my opinion of really the
That's
needs
good.
and their timing.
Is there any weighting of water over sewage, supply over collection? Any of that? I mean, or it's just you're taking everything into account?
I mean, the measures would be their impacts to public health. Like, I would say water treatment has to come first.
Right.
And then wastewater collection is more of a compliance issue.
Right.
And then, of course, distribution would be issues, and then followed by wastewater collection.
All right.
Now, on number 2, that drying beds, and you're saying that that's necessary because we're pretty full on silt right now, and I recall what I'm going to term as a failed attempt to clean it out, but I still have not ever been satisfied that tank holding pond was ever attempted to clean it out properly.
I mean, we could get a dredger, but the quote, I mean, I don't know.
The quote from 400,000 from a couple years ago went up to about $1 million.
No, all I'm suggesting is that thinking caps come on to see how it could be done possibly in a better way without thinking about, I don't want to throw good money after bad, and that's what a dredging system would be to me. But at the same time, just that extended reach excavator we used last time was like trying to bail out a malt out of a cup. You never can get any material in it.
Yeah, I mean, it was a 99-foot arm, that's the longest arm.
A 99-foot arm, but it really was just not able to, my understanding was not able to get enough, solid in the buckets to, it's just such slush.
On this one, number 2, I think it'd be cost savings once we do the construction on it, because we're paying like, what is it, 100, not 100, but 48,000 or?
Yeah, it was like 40,000, yeah. And it's a method.
To clean up what's necessary to get water in and out.
Not to argue with you, but that's, as I recall, we didn't even attempt to find out somebody that could do a better job.
Well, we did.
We didn't. Charles, you just called up the same guy that did it the years before and said, bring your equipment down here and do it. And he raked us over the coals on the hauling and the expense associated with that.
I mean, it becomes a greater expense there to try to dry out any of that sludge. We looked into it. I think we did a pretty decent job at researching some of the stuff that we could do there, and you know, in order to get the best out of that excavating system, you have to, hire somebody to come in and try to dry it for you. You put it in bags, you put it back in the sludge lagoon itself, or you put it in the property next to it. But it just adds to more expense, and it's always gonna be in that general area from $500 to $1 million. I mean, we researched it for a couple months.
And your answer is a good one.
The answer from the excavator was just something we tried to do, I think, to
Yeah.
get the best opportunity.
And even before, yeah.
And then you'd mentioned it before, I think, y'all had taken and tried to do something to do a solid divider across the pond to where you could actually take and have two sections where you could dry out one at a time and work with that, and that didn't work because...
Oh, well,
There was water seeping in through the bottom all the time. It never dried up.
In other words, water seeping in. As far as, did you try to put a divider dike across the pond to where you could take and handle half at a time?
And the water never dries up due to the, I guess it's the seawater.
But it's above ground. It's
Never-
above ground.
But it never dries
It's
up.
above ground. Did y'all pump it?
We pumped some of it, but that's, all we could do is just the top part. The
I
bottom
can't,
is-
that's an elevated pond.
But there could be some seeping.
yeah, I mean, you're right next to the reservoir, the underflow's gonna be below.
You're right next to the drain ditch too. Hydraulically, I'm having a hard time wrapping my mind around that. Because those are elevated tanks, and you're right next to that drain ditch, along 100.
And, all I remember is that we left it for about close to a year and it never dried up, so.
Yeah.
We're thinking it is coming from the reservoir itself, because it is.
Yeah. I mean,
Oh, well,
we-
that would be, yeah.
From the
Yeah.
reservoir.
Yeah, we,
Of course, if you have groundwater,
can-
you know,
okay.
at a certain level, 1 foot there, you can dig in groundwater, so.
Yeah, even we
Just
tried
so
to
you're
find-
sure, just so you're sure, I'm not into that. I'm just one is to explore every option. And if you've already been down that road again, that was a good response, appreciate that.
Charles, what would it take to do some odor control down at Isla Blanca? The last 2 times I've been down there, it's been hideous.
yeah.
I know we're gonna get in trouble with the county and everybody else, it's coming.
Yeah, I mean.
I mean, you can't hardly stand being down there on hot days. It's terrible.
Yeah, I
Is
mean.
it, how much money are we looking at to fix that? I know it's unfunded, but.
Yeah, I
That's
haven't
the
even
one
put
we're
an
gonna
estimate on
be
there.
hearing about from the people.
Yeah, I mean, that's something, like, I don't have numbers today, but I should develop them pretty quick. I mean, I'm thinking we probably have to do some kind of a biofilter, and we're figure out how to collect that gas and get it, you know, through an air scrubber.
So it's something super expensive to fix.
Yeah.
Not necessarily, because
Well-
I know we had a vendor that came by that they could utilize that gas and, save us some money too. At the same time, we generate that one for energy. Burn it,
Really?
Use it for energy. And then, I remember, one of the guys came by, a couple of them, maybe two, 3 companies that are out there. And they can regenerate that gas and utilize it for energy, the pump or whatever.
Big farmers do it.
Electricity,
Yeah.
Big farmers do it.
Well, that would be like
Yeah,
anaerobic
cost
digestion.
savings.
With all the plans they've got down there and all that, this is coming.
Maybe
Yeah,
we should
no.
look into
It's
that one
coming.
first, Charles.
Well, like, right now we have aerobic digesters, but if you would make them anaerobic, you could collect the gas. And usually the break point is 5 MGD, so we're pretty small to even look into that. But basically,
Oh, that's why
yeah.
they didn't move forward because of that, right? It was
Yeah,
so
we don't
small.
use that type of digestion. But the thing is, yeah, I mean, we can look into, cause like in Chicago, we went to an odor control conference, and there's some standards where, I mean, they already have them in place in Brownsville, like that lift station next to the federal courthouse. They put, like, something I would think would be similar to what we need at Isla Blanca. And I can get pricing on that just to get a ballpark.
Was that kind of included in number 6, or would it be included in number 6?
Well, that'd be a new cost item we'd have to add into it. I mean, I'm like, just kind of shooting from the hip, I'd say 150,000, you know.
It's terrible. now.
Yeah.
What's the main reason for that being problematic at that? Just because of volume,
It's just the,
time?
no, just the hydrogen sulfide that's in our wastewater collection system, and that's where it's coming out. I mean, I think it's that area from lift station 19 all the way to the plant needs to be treated. And right now in the collection system, we're dumping that chemical that we use, the Microsolve. And so Microsolve's controlling it in the line, But I mean, basically, there's 2 stages to odor control. One would be like the line treatment, which is what we're already doing, and the second point would be like fixing a specific point where you'd be scrubbing out the air. And we have something in place at Lift Station 19, but we don't have anything at Isla Blanca. So that's kind of...
Where's 19?
In front of Isla Grande, right there at the SIDA driveway.
But there's nothing, no other lift stations beyond that?
No, that pumps straight to the sewer plant.
Okay.
Well, we definitely need to add an item in this prioritization list to address the odor control.
Yeah. And it's a matter of... Yeah.
If we're still staying with TC compliant, that's not quite in the scope of it. I'm not discounting it at all. You know, that was probably one reason that we weren't too successful in the last bond.
Yeah, but in terms of, you know, regulatory issues, like, pretty much all these projects would have about the same ranking, you could say, as an odor control. It's just, you know, maintenance improvements, public opinion, all those kind of things.
But it's got to be addressed.
I don't
And
disagree.
we agree that it's not a regulatory issue, but it is a public issue, and it has to be addressed if we're going to spend some more money.
I've had more people ask about that than anything. I mean, they don't care about headworks, and they don't care about this. They go, man, what are you getting about the way it smells down there?
Yeah, like up there at WebTech, one of the people in Cleveland, or Cincinnati, one of those, it was Cincinnati, and basically they formed these committees, you know, to try to talk about the utilities, and in the entire city of Cincinnati, it just became an odor control plan. That's all it was.
They care about clean water and smell, number 1 and 2. That's what folks care about.
Okay, going back to all these items that we have listed here, I just want to mention that I see only like 3 that are the most important, and that's my opinion. And see, the monofil is a TCQ requirement. The sludge, number 2 is not a TCQ requirement.
Well,
we've been having issues with it.
There is a compliance in the return flow, like we can only be returning 10%. I mean, that would be the one compliance issue that we're not meeting.
I thought they were mandating us to put in a second tank there.
Oh, well, no, for the drying basins at Water Plant 2? No, we're not under enforcement, that's just us being proactive.
Not an enforcement on that one.
No, but that is something that needs to be.
But the return is, when you're talking about return, it means back to the intake, not the reservoir.
No, for decant, back to the reservoir, it can't be more than 10% of what we're pulling off the river. And we're not even metering it right now because it's filled with sludge.
Okay. So what do you do with the rest if you can't?
It goes through the overflow pipe, it just goes back in.
All right, Carlos, you gave us the first 2, you said you had another one.
The other one is again, it's not a TCQ requirement. The one that I'm thinking is the beaters. We've been talking about beaters for the last 3 years.
Number 4?
Number 4. And the
Okay.
reason being...
No, I understand. Stop right there, please. Mr. Engineer, give me your top 3.
The methane monitors, the drying
Wait,
beds.
let me write these down.
Yeah, my top 3 are in the ranking, 1, 2, 3.
All right.
You know.
All right, I want to hear from distribution, your top 3, please.
George?
I didn't have to,
That's number 4 is the AMI.
Is that your number 1?
That's the only one I have.
That's the only one, number 4. All right,
And
then,
then other items that are not up there.
another day. All right, water,
The water plant?
top 3.
Top 3, well, I mean, I wouldn't.
And it doesn't have to be water, I mean,
Yeah.
you're looking at the whole
The
district
whole,
right
the
now.
whole deal, yes.
Okay. I mean, I guess the difficulty that I have is, I guess the lack of knowledge in the wastewater side. So it's hard to, I mean, I've been to the meetings and I pay attention to everything that goes on here, but I guess I would have to Which
Give
was
us your
up
top
there.
three.
You know more than, you know more than I do, I'm asking your top three.
Yeah.
I mean.
Or only one if you only got one.
Up there,
1, 2,
of
and
course,
3.
mine being very important to me.
Give me the number. I'm writing these down. Give me the
So
number.
what's your first choice, obviously?
Obviously, the sludge driving basically
Give me the number.
number 2.
All right.
And then the methane monitors.
All right, 1.
And then I'll stick with the sludge holding tank. I mean.
Number
it's-
2.
Yeah.
Right,
So
sewer.
number 2, number 1, and what else?
2, 1, and 3.
2, 1, and 3. No, 1, 2, and 3 really are,
Uh,
for the most part.
Isn't there some special funding though on number 3, so we won't?
Let's
Well,
let's stay with the system we got.
Yeah,
now.
well, that's another board item we'll get into.
Yeah,
All right.
yeah, so it really don't even
Sewer.
count.
1, 3, and 5. 1, 3, and 5.
Yeah, and just one note I need to make on
All
that.
right, stop. I didn't ask for
Okay.
Mr.
All right.
Gomez.
Well, the only one I would rank is number 4. And
Why,
because, because that's going to improve the efficiency in reading the meters, which is gonna bring in more revenue.
All right, so
That
that's,
would help.
you and Joel are number 4s, okay? Same.
Customer service, same.
Well, you can see that the vision's going.
All right.
What are the other 2, Robert? Give us 2 more.
Well, I guess I'd have to go with 1 and 2.
1, 2, 4.
And the only reason I ask these questions, like, I'm the new guy, I'm trying to get as much feedback from the staff as to what,
Perfect question.
My suggestion would have been, and it is that we just kind of rate these on a priority of a 1 to 5, 1 being the lowest, 5 being the highest. I'd like to ask one more.
Wait a minute. Joel, you owe me 2. You only gave me 1.
All right, I'd be 1 and 2, sir.
All right, I'm sorry, Joel.
No, it's all right. Get them all. Who we miss?
We
on
got
staff?
Cleaning, customer service, you need 2 more. You said 4 and
No, just 4.
Yeah, she,
I only said
she
4,
owes us 2 more.
definitely 4,
well, I mean, that's,
2 more. Quick.
yeah, 1 and 2.
all right.
Said 1 and 2.
I want to ask one more person. I'd like to ask the public. You're it. You know what? Seriously. You know, right now, you're the public.
Well, obviously the ones that are required for compliance.
Your studying is pretty good, so,
Sorry?
your studying is pretty good, so now we're gonna see.
Which would be the sludge monitor bill, or the methane
Yep.
monitors. And, I mean,
Yeah, the drying basins would be compliant too.
yeah.
And even the sludge holding tanks is all compliant. All 3 of those are compliant.
I think those
Yeah.
first 3 do matter, but I think Rick Wells brings up a good point that from the public's point of view, we care about when we pour that glass of water and we smell it,
Right.
it smells kind of funny, or we walk down Project Boulevard,
Right.
it smells kind of funny.
Okay, the odor is the next one, but of these,
The top
1, 2,
3.
3?
Mr. Houston, you asked Joel on the water side, as far as the distribution, on the sewer side, you have collection.
Okay.
We have Mark on the sewer side.
Well, Mark's
So we
speaking,
got
and
it.
then Joey,
We got it.
But no,
Joey needs to provide his.
All right, go ahead.
Mark also.
I'll do 1, 2, and 5.
1, 2, and 5.
I don't want to discount 8 and 9 in this conversation just because they've been struck out before. Particularly 8. I'd like to see some numbers later of what the savings would be. If we're going to be discussing anything to finance this, you know, I'm looking at that as a cost return.
Yeah.
And so, you know, our efficiency has to be given some consideration.
What's the basis for scratching them?
Just the lowest priority. I mean, when the line between 5 and 6, I would say that's a big difference in need. I mean, like the when you get into Isla Blanca, hydraulic improvements, headworks at Annie Buoy, energy efficiency at Annie Buoy, and Isla Blanca headworks, that's kind of getting more into the wish list range, not necessarily compliance or things that would result in enforcement. But everything 1 through 5, I mean, that's our cash registers, That's our, and that, all those things could lead to enforcement.
How long before we do have to put money into items 8 and 9?
It just could, I mean, we haven't done it for the past
Well,
20, 30 years, so.
Staying with the number 8.
Yeah.
Staying with number 8, I think we, at some point, pretty soon, I would like to see some numbers associated with that to know what the potential savings would be. I
Yeah,
know
I mean-
Whitey was a bear, getting us to 3-phase and 4-phase to
Right.
some monitor, or motors that would be more efficient to run.
Okay, so those motors have been online since August, and you want to see the change in our electricity bill at Isla Blanca? It's been 0.
Really?
And the only reason I haven't really been ready to report yet is because I want to get the airlift pumps back onto the PD blower, and then we're still using Corsair. So Corsair is Corsair. It's going to have an air requirement. When you go to fine air, you're going to really change efficiency.
I mean, why
But that's
didn't-
coming in a new system, sorry, but
Right.
that's gonna be part of the new system.
Do we know why we didn't see any savings there?
Well, because we haven't got the turbo blowers to be controlling the aeration basin strictly. Really, what's setting the energy requirement is our airlift pumps, and the airlift pumps are very inefficient. And that's, you can't lower it because then you can't get your airlift pumps to work. So we're not able to utilize all that efficiency improvement because you still got airlift pumps on the turbos.
So number 8,
Just
there's
probably
really not
just,
gonna be any
on
improvement.
all the time,
Right.
that's why.
Okay,
They're
then,
on all the
that's
time,
good.
you can't control the speed on it.
And is that, what's
Well,
causing that?
well, we're gonna actually fix that. We just we opened bids, which we're gonna present on the 13th to buy new air piping. And so for 9,800, we're gonna put the piping to move those airlift pumps off the turbo blowers, and then we'll be able to actually do auto control on the turbos and really see if we're gonna get that savings or not.
Very good.
Okay. That's one of the things that I think about when we look at these at the meter program is they've made a real good case for how we can save some money. My difficulty is that we need a way that we can monitor that and that we can actually put those savings aside, because otherwise, if we just mix it in with the rest of the revenue, it's not, we're never going to see it.
Mm-hmm.
And so we might see it in a reduction in the bill, but it doesn't give us back, for instance, it doesn't give us back the money to buy more meters.
Right.
You know, unless we fund that, unless we absolutely fund that. So if at all possible, that would be good if we can do something like that. Is take those savings and recognize them and set them aside for buying more meters, or, you know, for, you know, helping that one particular area that we...
And that's all gonna be relevant to when we get it done and get it, you know, that would be a management's requirement that that monitor would be set if we do it. But right now, not to stop us, we need to identify what's on this list that we have to do, and then we get into the other section, we're gonna figure out how we're gonna pay for it. And so...
Well, right now, you're looking at about $8.8 million.
Sorry?
And all the things that have been discussed.
How much?
8.8.
8.8. Make it 8, make it 9. 9 mil.
Does that include number 8, Alex?
That does not include 8 and 9.
Right. I think, my personal opinion is 8 has to be in it, because 8 and basically number 4 are both processes that you actually see a return on investment through the direct cost operating savings.
Did we hear that from Charles? He's saying you're not gonna see it because it's
No, but
until they
we're
get the
talking
new
about the
order money.
upgrading the efficiency of the motors.
Well, the $2 million.
We haven't done it.
Well, at Andy Bowie, that $2 million, that's the full going to fine air bubble diffusers, replacing those inefficient airlift pumps. But then it's also going to trigger the headworks need, which the headworks is still in there actually. So if we combine the headworks and 7 and 8, you need 7 before you can get 8, because the headworks is going to be all the protection you need to have all your fine air diffusers and everything else.
I think that, you know, I mean, I think that you can either do items 6 through 9 or 5 through 1. Basically, is how I see the breakdown. You're not going to be able to do all of them.
Right. And there's questions with this debt service ratio, if that number is really what we got. So we got to look into that too.
No.
So I'm lost here. What numbers are we really considering doing now?
Well, I think
On our list.
I think the breakdown is between 1 through 5 and 6 through 9.
Right.
And
So
divide
the
them up
first
that way.
1 through 5 would be the top.
Yeah. And that handles some of the compliance issues? Or do we have any compliance issues between 6 and 9?
No, with 6 and 9, maintenance activities will prevent
So-
compliance.
Well, you take care of the compliance issues, just addressing 1 through 5.
Plus add odor control.
Mm-hmm.
Wouldn't
The odor control, yeah, I think you can throw it in there.
Wouldn't number 5 really help with odor control?
I'm
It's
sorry?
not, no, because number 5 is it's pump repair, piping repairs, it won't do anything for odor control.
More efficiency, right?
Well,
It's actually not gonna...
no, I don't think it'll be significant,
Right.
because the electrical cost on those is pretty small.
I won't bog us down here.
No, but odor control should definitely be in our lift station plan, and it's a matter of, you know, if we get covering a good plan in the engineering phase and then implementing it.
But you're saying that if you had to guess, that's not a very big number there.
Yeah, I mean, I can be, like, for one, let me get some numbers from PEB since they've done a lot of this work, and I'll find out the cost at the
Part of the
lift
reason
station
I bring
20.
that up is because if we don't have to finance that, why do that?
Well, there's the odor control. I mean, one thing is you're spending annual money on chemical, so the chemical purchase, that should be operating. But
Right.
your capital infrastructure for like the actual physical filter that'll be out there, I mean, that could be like a revenue that's gonna last 20 years. So I mean, that's where we have to decide which part is what.
But how much money you said we're talking about there?
Oh, well, I don't know, like right now, our Microsoft budget's what, 75,000 a year?
About 80, 180, like 25.
Okay, so we spent 100,000 today buying chemical, and then we have no structures. That would be an entirely new part of our odor control plan, and all that would be capital.
But we're not gonna stop doing the
No,
chemicals.
no. We would, if anything, our chemical price is going to go up, so we can just start hitting more locations that need it, and then plus we'd probably need new structures like at the manhole in front of the here at the intersection of Woody's Lane and Port Road. Do a new filter there to scrub the air out, and then something at Isla Blanca, and then if we need to address other areas, we can go from there.
So that's in our bottom of our chart there where it says unfunded projects to consider.
Well, we need to develop the cost for it and put it into the
Odor
mix.
control plan
Yeah.
and our Long Island Village water distribution and sewer replacement.
Yeah, I don't see that one making it on our
I
limits.
just talked to a gentleman today, a couple of guys that came by for odor control. And we are gonna try to do I want him to prove to me that he can control odor. I told him to call me back on Friday. What I wanna do is get with our collection system and find out which are the worst points that we have right now.
Isla Blanca
Isla Blanca.
is the worst one.
Yeah.
The guard shack,
So-
It's unreal down
I
there. You
just
can't
wanna
even
make
sit
sure
outside
the
some
collection
nights,
department
Carlos.
is
It's
that's
terrible.
the worst one, and I want that guy to come in and show me and prove to me that he can control that odor. And once he does that, I told him we utilize his chemical or whatever he has. I said, okay, we'll do that. We need to get an odor meter where they record all the sulfur dioxide or hydrogen sulfide gas.
All the gases.
Yeah, hydrogen sulfide gas, and then I get a number and see how much they can reduce it to.
Good.
And they install their temporary pilot.
Good.
So,
And what are those units, Ron?
we don't know yet, because he's just gonna do a pilot, like, prove to me first that that's gonna work.
That's the
And,
place to do it, down there.
So, as he mentioned that to me, because I know I'm on top of odor control, and I want to take care of that, even with our existing vendor that we have, Evergreen. And he said that he may have to go one lift station back and start treating it over there, and that way, by the time it gets to that lift station number 19, it'll be anticipated.
And that's always been the one that's a problem too. 19's always been the one that smelled. That's one in front of the Grand, right?
Right.
That's always been the bad one.
Right now,
So that would be the plan.
Yeah, 19 we're addressing
Oh,
pretty
you
good.
I smelled it the other night, don't you?
Yeah,
Oh, yeah.
there's,
It's still bad.
We've only got 3 people on the island.
It's coming from somewhere. But, yes, it's a very important issue that we need to take care of.
Yeah, I'm glad you're doing that.
Well, are we to number 5 yet?
What,
We got more discussion on this.
do we need to discuss anymore? We've sort of broken it up into the
Yeah, I
top
think
and the
we're-
bottom. And it seems like we're sort of in agreement We can't do them all.
I can't do them all.
I think we need to leave
Concentrate on the top five?
with the bottom
All right.
and go with 1 through 4.
Well, I don't know, lift stations have been ignored a really long time, that we just, I don't think we can let that continue.
I still don't have number 4 at the top of my priority list. I still haven't seen the projections of cost savings to offset it.
You know, one thing I have noticed, and I've talked to number 4, I mean, if you just tell them yes, nobody's gonna be in favor of it. But the people I've talked to like the idea of being able to control their water on an app on their phone. I mean, it's
I think what that's gonna give us is, we're kind of, I think that's gonna put us at a different level of service that we provide that nobody has experienced, you know, so at least here. So that might be something that the savings, as you say, Doyle, we might not, you know, see them immediately, or we might see some, or that remains to be factored in. But I think that does put you at a different level of service, the quality of service you provide, and it might gain you a little bit more. I don't know. I think it's a good investment for the long run.
yeah.
But having said that, I still go back to the fact that we need to recognize those savings and just not say, well, like you said, we didn't save as much as we thought, you know, because we didn't do this, or this. So
Well, there wasn't a whole lot of savings. The presentation we had from Badger and the other, Mueller, there weren't
Well, but remember,
knock you off the seat savings.
there was a good chunk of unbilled water due to
Well,
leaks.
and it's more than just the savings it's your savings in manpower.
But, yeah,
It's
but-
your savings in checking those meters, going back and rechecking.
Yeah, I don't
Is
see
the savings in
yeah.
efficiency of that reading. I think there's lots of areas where you can have those savings, it's not just one.
I'm just wanting to look at that, and I appreciate the benefits of having the gadget, but right now, we can read meters, but I do recall we're gonna have to do some upgrades, and then the software is not gonna be able to be replaced with what we're doing now.
I mean,
So we're running into a dead end of the current system.
yeah, we're dealing with a lot of, you know, registers and transmitters that are 10 years, 12 years old, and they do need a
The
replacement.
majority of them are 10 years old.
Right, so we do need to look at a major replacement on that portion of work, not necessarily upgrade to AMI, but get down to the essentials.
Yeah, that's true.
And we
The transmitter.
we could potentially be losing revenue there.
Well, I don't wanna take and spend, again, good money after bad money, and so why would we be going in there and spending money on the old style system of the readers,
It gets...
other than going into the new remote monitoring system?
Well, I mean, for half the price, we can still get us through the next 10, 15 years. So, I mean, you know, by just
Okay,
sticking with
so
our
if
current
you
technology.
use that round figure, then we come in there and we look at the benefits of being able to closely monitor our water use to where we don't have the waste, and we don't have the other issues associated by closely monitoring the system. So those are things I'd like to look at as you know, definite cost savings with the AMI system.
If I may add, like right now on cycle 3, which is the island, on average, we're verifying about 526 meters. And that's because they're coming back unread, abnormal, or zero consumption.
526?
Yes, that's on average. Am I correct on this, that the majority of those are transmitter issues?
Transmitter
Whether
issues.
10-year-olds or they're 10 years old and they're dying, the battery's dying.
So what-
They measure life expectancy pretty
So
much.
we need to, and if we try to fix those, what are we gonna
Just a new
really?
transmitter. It's a new transmitter
The
for,
transmitters just to pick up.
basically, what is the cost of it? Anytime that we go out there and just change out the transmitter and the register, because you know that's the problem, it's costing us $129 for the register and transmitter.
Okay.
That's just what that's not including the cost of personnel going out.
So
there.
how long before we recoup that?
Yeah,
Well, it's immediate because you're getting a reading, you're not getting a reading before.
well, now you're saving on having to go back out there and verify it.
Okay.
Okay. As I mentioned before, each meter has the potential to be visited by a technician 5 times in a month. When you read, verify, test the meter, get the profile and change out, you know, the meter or the register.
Well, we're fooling our...
$125 on roughly 525 meters.
129.
129 for the register and transmitter.
Yeah.
And what we see is that once you fix those, they're not gonna come back again and say like, oh, we're having problems again. It'll be another 10 years before we get to that.
That's about a $70,000 investment right there.
And up to now, I think we, math is correct. From January up until late November, we've had over 10,000 meters of issues
Throughout.
throughout the year. Yes, sir.
10,000 meters?
Yes, sir. That's the report I got from
We only have like 6,400 accounts.
Well, no, yeah, we go back and they have issues and whatnot, and we revisit it.
Oh, so it's just a multiple
Yes,
Yeah.
yes.
on the same.
You might go back and do a profile, and that's the thing, the transmitters, they go by and they read and pick up the reading, but it's not collecting data. You have a problem at your house and you get a bill, you try and pull a data profile, there's not enough juice to pull that.
Well, maybe that's all we need to do. Am I correct on that, maybe just if we go and change the old transmitters?
Well, it's transmitters and battery packs, correct?
That's what we're doing.
Instead of buying the whole meter and the whole works?
The transmitters are the majority of the problem. But I know the Hoyos right now is telling you about how many meters have gone bad. How many more meters we have out there that we haven't encountered, okay?
Right.
This is because of an issue that maybe the customer encountered, so we had to go out there. We haven't actually seen an issue by ourselves because we're picking up the readings and we're saying, okay, this is what it is. Until a customer has a leak, we go out there and then that's when we find out, oh, this transmitter's not working. So it's not only 10,000. I'm sure there's a lot more than that. They're not picking it up.
Is it worth fixing these meters since they are 10 years old?
Fixing, replacing.
Well, we don't have problems. The majority of the problems are not with the meter itself. It's the transmitter.
The transmitter is not picking up.
So it's the electronics.
So the meter, yes, the housing and the meter itself is.
Yes, because
Another
before
10
you
years
got
ago,
the register and transmitter, we test the meter itself, make sure the inside component works properly and that the meter is reading accurately. And then we change out the register and the transmitter. If there's some issues with the meter itself, then we'll change out the meter itself with the register and transmitter. And that'll cost us on a 5/8, $184.85.
So under $200.
But that's just the 5, that's the smallest meter we have, okay? Then you're going to 1 inch or 2 inch or 4 inch.
Right.
They get more.
Well, what about
They
the
pay more, too.
what about the software problem that they say we're gonna be having soon, that Badger's we're not gonna be able to use this system because it's gonna be changing?
We're not system, we're having to go to the beacon system.
Which is
It's
just
approved by the
a
water.
transmitter changeout.
I'm sorry?
It's a transmitter changeout, isn't it?
No, it's gonna be for the HRE, system that we have now. Let me just find the notes real quick. Okay. On the beacon system, which the board has already approved, is for $14,000, okay? Now, in order to get that working with Encode, it's gonna cost us an additional $3,250. So we can have Encode test the beacon system, so we can make it work.
$32.50.
59.
Yeah.
Clarify.
Yeah, well, I think to get hard numbers, we need to reissue our RFQ, asking the right questions on our meters. And then like that, we'll have quotes that are good.
I'd like to upgrade the AMI if we can, but at the same time, we have to take a look at what could we get by with. Then we have to take, your input's vital to me as to what we're losing on revenue. And it's not so much as we're gonna save on personnel, because we're always gonna have the personnel. It's just a matter of directing them. So we're either gonna, upgrade, what's the cost gonna be to upgrade and all that, offset going to the whole system. And then one thing we've not discussed is we're fooling ourselves if we don't think we're gonna have issues with the AMI system also.
Correct, that's one thing that I spoke about a while back, that in about 8 years, we're gonna have to have a budget to change out the transmitters and the registers.
Well, you're gonna have that in the first year, we're gonna have glitches in the first year.
And we have that in the budget.
Warranty or not.
We budget that.
I'm talking about staff having to deal with it, you know, it's not gonna be the foolproof system that she would like to monitor.
The only difference between the system that we're talking about is that when the battery starts going out, it starts letting you know. It's gonna let you know, battery's going bad. Start giving you a signal, so we can address it earlier than later. Right now, up until we go pull up profiles, do we know that there's an issue? And it could be next week, next month, next year, up until the customer, or we see something that requires for us to pull a data profile. And that's when it's when we find out, oh, battery's not there anymore.
Well, what I see now is that you don't have to wait, because, you know, in 10 years it's gonna go off. The battery, like right now, all the batteries are gonna go out sooner or later, tomorrow, like you're saying, or yesterday, or in a month, they are gonna go out. And that's what I'm trying to get to the point that we need to, install new ones already, on the ones that we haven't installed. And we've installed at least, I'd say, out of the 6,400 accounts, at least.
Well, why don't we look at that number, compare it to our AMI number? We got a pretty good number on the AMI system, so why don't we have a number to compare of just updating the existing system with the software? What I understood before was that, you know, we're not gonna be able to use it because of the software that's gonna be done.
If the beacon system, we should be okay. We will be okay. Not should be, we will be okay.
You will be okay. Well, we're still just a drive-by. We still don't have the remote monitoring, don't have the remote shut-off, we don't have all that stuff that really brings us
We don't have all the whistles and bells.
it doesn't bring us to the 21st century.
Correct.
And I agree with what Mr. Houston said, that's just an awesome service to our customers, for them to be able to take and actually be proactive in their own consumption.
And you
by
say you have
monitoring.
some of that money already?
The beacon system has already been board approved, and I think the other two are for presentation on Wednesday.
So it's some of that, the 13,000 or 14, that's budgeted already?
Yes, the 14, the beacon.
The 14, yeah.
Yes, that's already been approved.
So the only other monies you need to make it work, is at 3,200?
Yes, sir, 3,200, and then the, 2,870 for the laptop, it'll go with that.
Okay.
And now, we have two simple handhelds that rule the profile. We usually have two, we're down to one, because the other one broke down, and that's 7,500. Okay. We haven't ordered one, because we're trying to see what direction the board's gonna take. We don't wanna spend money. And they do have loaners, but it's $500 for the first 10 days, and then $30 after that.
Oh, they're so sweet.
So we kind of held off on that, because we wanted to see what kind of direction we're going to do. And I did talk to Ms. Garcia about doing a change out, like you said, and you want to.
What's the cost? That's the worst you can tell me.
Huh?
The worst you can tell me is gonna be too high of a cost.
Well, if we just got the radios and transmitters on, and keep it back right now, the drive-by, it'd be a lot of Yeah, the whole system change out.
It sounds like we can eliminate some monies, at least out of that number 4, right?
Mm-hmm.
At least some, for now.
Yeah, we can wait for quotes and then adjust accordingly.
And then we can do what Charles said, submit for RFI, correct, Charles?
Yeah, I think it's worth doing an RFQ now, or a request for bids, with a different
RFP?
scope. Yeah, an RFP, under a different scope, request for, because it'll change the numbers significantly.
Did she say there was some kind of financing out there for that?
Yes. Yeah, pretty much each company will offer.
On number 4, there's somewhere we can finance it?
It's not that cheap.
Financing everywhere.
In my opinion, it's a high interest rate, but
Yeah,
So
our revenue
what's the
notes would be
interest
better
rate?
a
rate.
little over 3.
Almost 4.
Yeah.
Well, we've
And
identified.
and it depends also, something to take into account is that, are we gonna wanna put some money down, you know? And I think we should try to find some money to put down, that would help us in the interest rate. It's just a matter of finding that 500,000 or
Well, we've identified what we think we need right now. Now we need to go in and find out what money we have available, and then make some decisions or get some input on how we find the rest of the money, what we're gonna do to keep us compliant and up to.
So three and 4, there's actually some kind of financing out there for, correct? The sludge holding deal, I used to see something's coming up on the agenda, and then the 4s, they've got some finance set up.
On number 4, I sent out the information yesterday. I received it from government, capital, on Monday, and I sent it out yesterday for y'all to review.
I didn't get that.
It was in the email.
Oh, okay, that's why.
So, yeah, there's financing, but then.
It's like how many credit cards do you take out, right?
Well, that's where we got an hour on my schedule, so I'd like to go ahead and steer. If it's all right, go ahead and steer us to going ahead and seeing what
Go to
we have
number 5.
available.
Yeah.
It's up to staff.
And again, we did buy some food for you guys, so we took you off,
Yeah, my
dinner
diet,
earlier, so just hold on.
my diet's been broke.
Well, you guys wanna jump to number 5 then?
Sure.
Because I'm gonna be out of here at 5. Number 5, consider and discuss budget review of capital projects fund.
Yeah, I mean, basically what I did is I just took a hard look at our bank balances and compared it to our committed purchase orders for Series 2012, Series 2016, you know, the water rights, the water and sewer SDCs, and water and sewer. And really, and then of course like lead bonds. And pretty much to make a long story short, I mean, everything in the bank's committed at this point. I mean, there's not really a lot of room. I mean, right now we have in water infrastructure maybe 90,000 today that's not assigned to any projects. But pretty much, you know, everything else is already allocated to.
Okay, so no money's in 5.
Right.
The only thing that I can recall is that, we did a rate study on our water and sewer rates. The board didn't go that route, and, they decided to do it on their own. And, the board actually gave us some numbers, so we increased our 1 inch to the biggest meter on the water side only, and not the sewer side. So they did their own calculations and gave us numbers, and that's why we increased our water. And then, later on, they came back and said, okay, let's include the 5/8 inch meters. So, the numbers that they gave us did not affect anything, or the sewer side, just the water. So, right now, we're behind on mostly the sewer side is the one that needs all the construction out there. So we need to, what I have here, the study that was out there, we need to look at it and find the sewer, rate increase that the board is comfortable in, and utilizing that fund for sewer side.
Okay, so you're saying right now we have no money in the existing accounts. Everything there is allocated, and so there's no reserve that we can do for these other improvements and repairs we're talking about.
Right.
And then Mr. Galvano is saying that, you know, it was discussed before, a water rate increase was implemented to offset the expense there, but not on the sewer side. So that is an option to consider, would be a rate increase on the sewer.
Right. Well, we did do an increase on the sewer rate, but, I mean, the sewer rate increase was too low, and the water increase was too high, but, you know, whichever. It's basically, the sewer is warranted for a rate increase. I mean, as far as...
From a business standpoint, we're sitting here, we gotta do these improvements. Now we're trying to figure out where the money's coming from. And we talked about multiple credit cards, and now we're talking about the opportunity of doing a rate increase on the sewer to make the improvements to the sewer system.
Right, and I'm
From
sure...
a business standpoint, that's what I'm sitting here. Where do I get my revenue from?
Right, and what I can do is go to the rate study we did in 2014 and see where we're sitting on our rates today compared to what they recommended over a 5-year plan, and then have it maybe presented here on the 13th.
I would like to know, because I think there could be a disparity. Just here's my philosophy. I don't think a fellow that's got a $75,000 house in Laguna Heights should pay a higher monthly minimum in that fellow that's got a $500,000 condo in a high-rise of 40 units. And my gut feeling tells me that that guy that's got that $500,000 condo in that big building, just because they have a 4-inch or a 6-inch meter, is paying way less.
He does pay less, we've already ascertained that.
And that's what I'm
tried to
saying,
do
that's what
something
I'm
about it.
saying, I don't think that's fair.
I don't think it's fair neither.
And we need to address that. I don't think, you know, I'm not saying it's a matter of who can afford it, it's a matter of being fair across the board. A condo should pay the same monthly minimum as the single-family house, and we should come up with a structure to make that happen.
Well, once upon a time, Herb, they had a door charge here that kind of made up for that, and some other board eliminated it. It was like $10 a door.
Yeah.
That got it pretty close. But we're still, the condo's paying maybe 16 bucks, where Joe Smo in the Heights is paying 20, what is it, 27 plus change? We know that.
That's what we need to do.
We know that.
Like
That's
coming
what
up, like basically tracking units on each connection and developing an equal fee based on, like you're saying, number of doors.
They used to have a door charge, and man, that got it close, and now with that gone, it was $10, right?
Oh, that was before my time, I don't remember.
Wasn't it $10?
What, I'm gonna ask a silly question, but what are you talking about when you say doors?
Every unit had like a $10 surcharge on top of it, plus the broken down water that they were paying, because we figured out about 2 or 3 years ago that a condominium unit, a good share of them was paying half what the average guy pays, and I'm talking average guy like he's talking about, and that's why one of the reasons we upped the rate on the big meters, but still, we didn't bring it up anywhere near
So
what it could have been.
that's what you're saying, Herb, that they should pay the equal amounts based on the minimum?
How can anybody argue against equal?
You can't.
Joel can.
I'm not arguing against equal, but when you guys bring it up and put it on an agenda, I'm not gonna be at that meeting, because everybody here in outdoor resorts is gonna be sitting here arguing against what you're saying.
Well, it's not so
And
much
that's what we have right now, is they have a big meter, and they're broken down to where they're paying a higher bill than others.
Right.
But at least Outdoor Results is working towards a system of putting in their own where each property would be individually metered.
Right, and the thing is, if we're gonna be sponsoring that effort, I mean, we gotta leave room in our debt service coverage to facilitate that, because right now, you know.
Well, that's what I'm saying, that's the point I'm making, because the argument can be made the other way. I totally understand and agree with what you're saying, but, you know, it's not based just on the large meters. When you break it down and you add the doors to it to get equal, because that's what Outdoor Resorts is faced with right now.
That was the problem. So we were looking at it.
Well,
So is there a way to charge one price?
Well, the thing is, if we start determining units, like, because a connection could be one household connection, so it's one unit, or you could have 1,024 units on 1 meter, like in Long Island Village.
Right.
And so, today, we don't track how many units are on a certain meter, but that used to be done back in the day, and the difficulty of tracking the correct number of units is why we stopped doing that back in the day. And so it's a matter of,
That's the door charge?
yes, bringing that back to the table.
can
So we would, in other words, to do Long Island Village, you would have to get a count on every.
Right,
told us.
so like, say if
water.
somebody
They
builds a
told
new
us.
apartment or adds on something, we'd have to be always adjusting units.
Right.
You know, stuff like that.
Well, they've just had a big rate increase, so they're going from 250 to 280, and some people are just outraged.
Okay.
That's the new maintenance fee, up to $30.
I mean, there's bound to be a bunch of money there that if we just get everybody paying the same, is gonna be available to us to do some of these projects.
I'd rather refer it to it that way than just a bunch of money available. I'd rather approach it to the public, that it's, you know, coming up with a fair and equitable way
Exactly.
Right.
to meter out or, you know, pay appropriately, like you brought up.
Yeah, and I think the easiest way to establish that is to...
So strike that part where you said there's a bunch of money out there.
Yeah.
I seen her fingers going real fast over there right now.
I don't mind a little controversy, leave it in.
Yeah, but I mean, it's a matter of doing a survey or a verification for how many units are on each meter, and we'd have to make that. And that would actually be a better way to report our connections on our MOR too. We're supposed to be doing it like that. Or, you know, versus right now, we just take our connections times 3, versus if we knew the units, that would be the more correct number.
Because if you really think about it, the guy with the small house and the 5/8 is subsidizing the guy with the $1 million condo.
Yes.
That ain't right.
Yes.
So that's a revenue stream that we need to explore.
Right.
My recommendation is staff go ahead and bring us that information and a solution, because that's one source of revenue that we could take and capture and still keep it, you know, equal for everybody. So
And we can get different.
That'll probably pay for our monofield monitor now, so let's figure out some more money.
I have a feeling paper
Can we
more.
get different amounts on that, you know, like if we raise it so much, different levels, I guess, and primarily just so we come within what we're looking, these budgets we're looking at.
I mean, basically, we can see what target revenue increase we're shooting for and kind of make something out of it.
I just want to point out, and I hope I see her fingers moving over there, that we are the cheapest water district in the Rio Grande Valley, you guys. Go to Brownsville and look at a bill, it's double what we are.
We're the least expensive tax entity on the bill. I can tell you that.
We're the best deal on water and sewer of any entity in South Texas.
So, I mean, the taxing entity.
We were tied with Palmville and McAllen, and they've had rate increases.
So,
can I suggest something? Before the next meeting, we discuss this, pick a half a dozen multi-unit condominiums. If it's a 4-unit meter, how many units are in it? You know, what's minimum monthly charge divided by, and tell us on 6 condos, all right, they pay this, and then compare it to the guy on the 5/8.
Yeah, I'll show some hotels to stuff like that, you know, good
I
range.
can tell you that me and Whitey spent a day doing that, and we found that a lot of them were only paying about $12 a unit. Then, with the little rate increase we had, it bumped them to maybe 16, 15, so you're still way below.
Yeah, and well, the problem is when you have...
we worked on it big time.
Like, say there's a 6-inch meter and one person has 70 units and the other one has 1,000 units. How do you, without going into unit charges, you know, you're never going to get there.
Yeah, just to give us an idea.
Then they'll have the issue filling the pool, and what they'll do is call in and ask Minnie, hey, we're going to run this many gallons through, please waive the sewer rate. And that's another trick they do over there, so, which I guess is okay, but...
okay, with that said, would our AMI system facilitate that? If it were, couldn't that be?
It's a matter of tracking units, which we don't track today.
But the new system could.
Well, I don't know.
It'd have to be another monitor. It'd have to be another meter on the pool.
Yeah, well, units are essentially unmetered. We don't meter a unit. That would be sub-metering beyond our...
But after it's filled, you don't.
Yeah, it's just one of those things where you develop your list up front and try to keep it current.
In that suggestion, Ms. Houston, I think that we still ought to take and include outdoor resorts in that as some data.
Sure, that's easy.
You know, when you stop and think about all the problems we've got around the wastewater side right now, our water's in good shape. The tests are getting better, new plant out there, it's all wastewater.
Okay, and I'm agreeing with you, Mr. Wells, in that the Laguna Madre Water District is the cheapest in the area, and so we can't keep running on the cheap and have the proper service that's expected. So we've got to take and look at, somebody's going to have to pay a few more bucks for the service to get the better service. We're here pulling hair, scratching our fingers raw, trying to
come up with money.
Trying to get a sludge holding tank, you know. So I support evaluating comparable rates. I support evaluating what's necessary to bring the district up to standard, not a local standard, but a better standard. And if we're going to have to address some rates to do that, along with the door rates, etc. Bring it on.
I mean, when we're being told by the authorities that we gotta fix this and fix that, and the money's not there, you gotta figure something out.
And I'm
that
embarrassed.
simple.
I'm embarrassed at what we're paying our staff. I'm embarrassed at the equipment that we have for them to drive around. When I see a bumper hanging off the back of them, I think that there needs to be some equipment improvements. So there's no sense me sitting here, speaking for myself, looking around, that we don't take and charge for that service and provide the proper service for our customers and our staff. That's gonna take more money.
Yeah.
Everybody's gotta pay up. Maybe the bond issue for the tax wasn't right. Most likely, in my thinking, a revenue bond would be more appropriate, because everybody that uses, everybody pays. It's not just on the landowner. Everybody uses, everybody pays.
I got a question. Can the district implement a rollback tax?
Oh, you mean if you exceed
The amount that you can raise.
the 8%, I'm sure.
I'm just curious if we can do that.
No, because we were proposing a higher.
Yeah, I'm not even sure what a rollback tax
What
is.
the rollback rate,
You
though.
just cut.
No, in city, if you raise your rate.
In other words, you raise your property
8%,
up.
there's a chance that the public can come back
Oh,
and
okay.
petition a rollback.
Okay.
If you keep it under 8%, they can't challenge the rate increase.
Yeah, but,
So
yeah,
that applies to any government entity, pretty much?
That's the question.
Okay.
yeah, but for the revenue.
That's the question I have.
That-
I'm just
This is the only way
curious.
to pay back the bonds.
Yeah.
We need to pay them, so.
No, that's not the question. The question is, if we raise the rate, if we raise the taxes, is there a rollback cap? And what is that? If we want to consider raising the tax.
Until we pay the
But that would be bond related. I'm talking about just the tax
bonds,
associated
that's
with
what
it.
it is.
So it's
In other words, one of the things that we did on
property
the
taxed
island,
only for the bonds?
Yes.
one of the things we did on the island was we raised rates, we raised property rate, to be able to do some of the improvements that we did,
Right.
but we did it without voter consent. And that was within,
No, you can't.
Well, the only thing
In
is-
the district, it's gotta be voter consent.
Yeah.
It's got a little different setup.
Well, plus, the only tax we have is an interest and sinking fund. For
That's the
O
only
and M,
tax.
our tax is zero. We don't have an O and M tax.
right.
If you had an M&O, then.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay, so that's different animal.
Unless,
Right.
unless
Okay.
you do a revenue bond where it comes out of the general operating fund.
But that's a bond, but we're talking about but we can increase our revenue.
Revenue, yes.
We can increase
You
our
do that.
revenue by our rates.
Right.
And so that's what I'm discussing,
Yeah.
to take care of the shortfalls that we have in our maintenance repair.
And
Then
that-
if we need a bond based on the generated revenue to go in there and do the 8 million, 16 million,
And you're talking about a tax bond.
that would be a revenue bond.
Oh, revenue, okay.
Am I correct?
If you.
A bond
Yeah,
secured by the
That
revenue.
is the bond, the revenue bond where you pay out of the revenues coming, and the other one's a tax bond where you ask the public to vote for it, and they vote for it, and if they approve it, we.
Do we wanna jump to
Whatever
number
million
6, 'cause that's what number 6 is?
Yeah, number
You're the-
6
you're
looks
the
like your annual
chairman, please
payments.
do it.
and-
Okay, I'd like to, go to item number 6, because we're talking about it now. Consider and discuss district capacity for potential, what's WW? Water and,
Oh, waterworks
Wastewater.
and sanitary
wastewater,
sewer.
okay, and, SS is what?
Sanitary sewer,
Okay.
or sewer system.
Yeah, revenue bond issues, series 2018.
All right.
So when you attach an increase in the sewer, it's the same as attaching it to the water, or is it separate?
Well, water and sewer should be treated separate. I mean, your sewer revenue should pay for your sewer expenses, and water revenue should pay for your water expenses. I mean,
It's
that's,
still a revenue.
yeah,
It's
I mean, you can throw it all
still-
together,
it's-
but.
It's your revenue, it's not water or sewer.
Well, it's just some people on a septic tank, or, irrigation meters don't have a sewer charge, stuff like that.
I don't know of any septic tanks around here anymore.
Like Valley Road or something, it's like 3 people or something.
Okay, so, anyway, so let's go ahead, Chairman.
Okay, you wanna go to 7?
No, we're talking about 6.
Yeah.
Okay.
You wanna look back up real quick?
Yeah.
Adrian Gallant, of course, he's our financial advisor, and, we took the numbers from our last audit, and just determined what our potential capacity is for issuing debt through revenue notes. And based on our last audit from September 2016, our net revenue available for debt service is $2,654,173. And so today
So
that
that's
gives...
the bottom of the first page. Are you looking at?
Oh, yeah, I flipped over to page 1 of 3 on the landscape deal. And so if you see that debt service coverage ratio, based on our audit ending in 2016, our current ratio is 2.85, which that's actually gone up a lot since compared to prior years. And so, that's one thing, that's kind of our basis for our current capacity being 11.9 million in projects. And so if we flip over to page 2, if we would issue, revenue notes, based on our last audit, we're looking at having an ability to put 11.9 million into a project fund, going through an open market. And so we'd be looking at those annual payments of principal plus interest on the range of $970,000 a year.
Okay, so then we get back to the earlier conversation that we had of way we can do that is from our revenue. And if it's a wastewater related, then we have to discuss our revenue sources, be door charge or rate increase, etc. So, my question is, so then that would be based on what we could support on a bond would be our projected revenue.
Right.
And the increase that we have.
Right, so if we don't want that debt service to impact our current revenue, we'd be looking at having to look at a rate increase on the range of $1 million a year, or...
Well, we can either
but we cut it like
we can look at getting a bond, do it all at once, or, I have no idea what the potential revenue, extra revenue that could be generated, what that dollar amount is. So we could sit here as a board and say, okay, here's the amount of money that we can start chipping away at whatever we need from projected for the revenue for that year. Or would that 500,000 increase in revenue, I'm just drawing numbers, trust me, I have no idea, would it go towards supporting the bond that allows the district to go in and do all those improvements quicker?
It just depends how we set up our annual budget. Like,
it's not a question, I'm just saying, I would like to know what our, we talked earlier, bring us an idea of what we could project a revenue increase, a revenue stream would be from.
What did that last increase, which wasn't that much, generate?
About 500,000.
So and we did $1 million, so we just basically needed about double that amount, and it wasn't that big an increase. So, we're not talking about doubling rates.
So is it realistic to think you can raise the sewer by enough money to cover a $900,000 debt annually?
I think it would be within reason. Or maybe some of that sewer and water infrastructure could go towards it. Because right now we're setting aside $500,000 a year in capital.
I really don't know, to be honest with you. I'd have to go back and look at the numbers and talk to Adrian.
And I think that's really what we need to do. And my personal feeling is I would prefer to use all new revenue and keep that 500,000 for future stuff, because we're going to need it. There's other projects we're not doing, and so we already know we're going to need it for other projects, and that could serve as at a minimum. It could serve as a down payment, towards some of those projects.
Exactly. I agree with Alex what he just said 100%. That makes sense.
But we need to get an idea of those.
So the consensus of the board now is to ask staff to go ahead and generate a projected revenue stream based on whatever varying rate increases for us to consider. And then at that point, we can say we can use that revenue increase to take care of our expenditures, capital outlay expenditures, or do we take and apply that to a bond and seek a revenue bond?
Yeah, we'll have to go out for a revenue bond, I'm sure.
Yeah, and as far as the par amount, like instead of 11.9 million, what we can do is maybe shoot for those top 5 projects plus the odor control as our target.
I would prefer that, to be honest with you. It's a little bit more conservative approach, and it takes care of the compliance issues.
But we need a plan B, and that would include that if this revenue would take and allow the district to go ahead and make the smaller improvements that we need to at the time, we may not be able to do it all. And we may have to take the credit card out in some of these places at a cheaper interest and go ahead and borrow the money to do that. If TC comes down on us and say we need a monofield monitoring system, we have to have a sludge holding tank. Well, boom, we're $2 million. right there, so we're gonna have to have an immediate source of revenue.
But there would be the same predicament that you still have to pay back
Yeah,
those notes, you know, and that's the question. Are we able to use that revenue?
we need more revenue to do whatever we need to do, and that's what I'm suggesting is you come up with some projections of revenue with some rate increase or some, and not only that, but some equity changes within the billing system.
What do you mean by that?
For charge.
Okay.
Right now, we're bringing in,
Also,
we're bringing in about 7 million on water and wastewater with a 10% increase in the rate. That would come up with about 700,000 plus the increase that we're talking about in the equity side as far as the sewer is concerned with the bigger meters. That would certainly fund
Well, it
whatever
could happen.
funds we needed to get.
Well, that's half of the equation. The other half is cost savings throughout the district. And y'all know me well enough now that, you know, I'm gonna say, you know, exercise all the cost savings we can.
Right.
All
Well,
the way through.
if we're looking at this, revenue bond, and the meters are included in there, that's gonna create a cost savings, which
Right.
would help also pay for the bond. So, that would be the biggest rate of return, as far as the investments that we're making.
Y'all should be able to put that on one sheet.
Yeah, think how much more
When we get to it, just put it on one sheet for us to look at. And, you know, my hope, I'm saying that we may be forced to look at it two different ways, or three ways. One is just a revenue increase to take care of the immediate expenditures that we have. And then if we have to have a little more than that, we may have to borrow against that, to do that. I am a little reluctant now to go out for another bond.
Well, the revenue note versus, oh, you mean another election? Yeah.
No,
Yeah,
another election.
yeah, that's gonna be difficult.
Yeah, and I would even, if we even get to elections, I'd want to run things differently, because I don't think the county necessarily represents our district boundary. But that's another story we don't need to tackle if we're not going to go there.
Yeah, I think the advertising could have been a little better for this last one, but I won't get into that.
Well, we didn't even have a polling station in Laguna Vista.
What was that about?
I don't know, the
Nobody
county...
voted in Laguna Vista.
Yeah, the county election only had one polling place in Port Isabel, while the Port Isabel High School in Laguna Vista Town...
I didn't
had
even know
local,
it till it was
county.
over, and then somebody told me where was our deal on it, and I'm like, well,
Yeah,
you didn't vote on it?
yeah, it was...
No.
Yeah, I would suggest not letting the county do our election again.
Yeah. Yeah, and what was it, 50
Well-
votes it failed by? I mean,
Yeah.
No.
I'm
There's
not-
nothing wrong with
I'm
Well,
having
well-
an election.
150.
It's just a matter of making sure that they go out there, because that is a
Yeah.
voting precinct.
I don't think Garber did us a good job either.
I'm sorry?
I don't think Garber did us a good job either. I'll say it. I'll say it. I'm not hitching my wagon to the same horse if he can't pull my wagon.
okay, do we want to jump to number 7?
Here's the files, please do.
All right, number 7, consider this, and this will take care of some problem, maybe. Consider and discuss additional loan from Texas Water Development Board for Port Isabel wastewater treatment plant sludge holding tanks.
Right, and so being that we've already completed a financial application, you know, and we're using our existing loan, it will take board action, but we can fast track an additional loan to take care of the sludge holding tanks. And then I would also see if we can get the methane monitoring in that same loan request, just to get it all done, and so that
Okay,
would...
so you're talking about taking 1 and 3 or whatever it was,
Right.
and putting them on a credit card,
Pretty much, that's what this would be.
and as an option. So if we did that, then, you know, they wouldn't be part of a revenue bond or...
Well, we'd still have to allocate that debt service, because we have to pay it. The payment's the same, it's just gonna be a better rate compared to an open market.
I'm all for a better rate.
Yeah, we can get a better rate, yeah.
And then plus, since we've already done the financial application, it'll help fast track getting the money in the bank.
I read through the emails, and I would just say on page 1 of the email, going down there below, hi Nikki, Somebody said there in the middle of the paragraph, said somebody about 58% against, and then our current plan is, who is our?
Let's see where you at.
I'm on the email on page 1.
Oh.
From Charles Ortiz.
For our capital
You
projects.
sent it.
Oh, our would be Laguna Madre Water District.
Our current plan is to proceed these projects through revenue notes and local funding. My point is bringing it up is, I don't recall agreeing to that.
Okay.
Not disagreeing, but, you know, keep the horse ahead of the cart.
Different. Yep.
Okay? Our consideration would be, or our thought is, or exploring, I appreciate you exploring, without jumping ahead and speaking for me.
Yep. Well, actually, because there is a workshop on December 12th in Edinburgh, and so part of this conversation is to get buy-in to what our initial meeting with Water Development Board could be. I mean, do you want to go ahead and start discussing, you know, the additional loan amount for the sludge holding tank and methane monitoring, or possibly even more?
Into this?
Yeah.
Well, would it be approved? Would it qualify?
Well, it
The
was...
sludge holding tank does, but with the methane monitoring tank, or what else would qualify?
Right, I don't have the answer. We'd have to start that meeting and find out what's available.
Would you be financing the sludge holding tank for how long?
They're typically 20-year notes. I mean, I don't know if there's flexibility
And
on...
the monitoring system is $100,000?
Yeah, I mean, it's...
I'd rather pay for that instead of
Mhm.
financing that.
Yep.
Yeah.
Might be less too.
Yeah,
You're
so I
gonna save a
mean-
lot of interest.
Might be less,
So all we have to do is allocate the next 5 months of sewer infrastructure to the methane monitors, and it's covered. So,
So does that require, that we take action to direct you to do that, to look into the rates for these other people?
yeah, well, I'm going to be meeting with them on December 12th, so I'll have more to report on the 13th.
So you don't need anything from us?
Nah, right now it's just discussion, just so I can get some buy-in.
And part of the information that we're going to need, Mr. Gomez, I guess you gave us the capital, the options for the AMI metering system and the email, and I'm not wanting to get in that discussion now, but, you know, I think that we should have the information you provided as an option to consider if we're looking at, you know, doing it revenue rates increase, rate increases, we're doing revenue bonds or anything, how that's all going to roll in. We were talking about those two items, sludge holding tank and the monitoring system, in the bond system. Now we're talking about, you know, financing them otherwise.
Well, I mean, that is that. It's just...
I don't disagree with that, but, you know, we're talking about pulling out $1.7 million now of the bond because we're going to finance it another way. You know, so I'd like to just, in my mind, be able to keep all those on the same track. If we're seeking financing from different sources. And the other source is, and that's why I brought it up, was that, that we could finance the meter system this way. I would like to know if it's more feasible through this way or through the bond, cost-wise.
Exactly. That's the best way to know. Okay. Anybody else got anything to say?
Well, we're gonna get out of here before 5.
Okay, we all set?
Does staff have anything to
add here?
Staff have anything to bring up to us? Recommendations?
Well, I don't know...
Anybody want to take a pay cut so we can buy some stuff?
I'll take a pay cut.
I don't want to take the pay cut, but I have a question on units. Like remember back in the day when we used to try to charge by units versus like on the water meters? I think you had stepped out of the meeting when we were having a conversation about that history. I don't know if you remember anything about it or no.
No.
Okay.
Don't remember one bit about it.
Okay.
You don't remember why they got rid of that? The door charge? It was like a $10 door charge.
She doesn't even know about the charge.
Yeah, I guess that's a no. Yeah.
A long time ago out here, that the condos would pay so much less than the average guy does.
Way before my time.
Yeah, it was a long time ago. They had a door
I've been
charge.
going almost 16 years here, and we've never...
It was before that.
Well, maybe,
Way before that.
Yeah. I'm just bringing that up, but I mean, that's a way to,
And you remember that.
you do a $5 door charge.
it's a surcharge however you look at it.
Yeah, it is,
So I don't know if a door charge.
on generating more revenue, what we discussed among ourselves is that on call-outs, after hours, when there's a private problem, that we charge the customer fee like gas and AP, because I'd say about 85% of the time it's a private call.
Why just call out? Why not in
Well,
general?
just starting with that.
Because we get a lot of calls and they're not ours. You get AEP, you get the gas company, you get the phone company.
Well,
They'll tell you, if it's your problem, there's a charge. If it's our problem, there's no fee.
You're talking about a customer calls in, they say, my water doesn't work. And you go there and you find out that they didn't turn on the valve under the sink. Okay, so that's a normal charge everywhere, so my thinking is that needs to be brought up to the board as an action item.
Right, at the,
We don't have a policy for that.
service policy,
No.
on the service policy, we're gonna
We
do
tried,
that.
but there's a few things that we probably missed the last time we.
Well, it's not just in the water, it's also in the sewer where they're getting called or backups. The plumber is calling in, for the customer, and they get out there and they find out that it's still the customer's problem.
The plumber wants you to determine whose problem it is, his or ours.
So do we charge a plumber?
No.
No, we don't charge anything. We don't charge for going out
We need
here.
to charge
Yeah.
what
That's what we're
customer-
saying. And we didn't just mean just, you know,
So you're saying-
water. We're just talking about in general.
Is that, can we
service.
consider that an impact fee?
It's just a service call.
It's
It's
just
a service call, because
Service
if you
call
go
and-
out there and it's their problem,
It's a service
we
fee.
need to compensate
Okay.
that,
It's a service fee.
But, we'll bring all that to the board.
So,
When we get it all together.
Well, we'll put it
Well,
together.
we're not doing
If there's not just one or two.
Have we posted the agenda yet?
it's an amendment to the service policy. Get it all in there. I move we adjourn.
Anything else, move to adjournment, second?
Take some food up.
Aye.
Meeting adjourned.